got the look. I was gonna shave it all off, but then I was like, I wanna see what this looks like. So I'm just wearing it for the day. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. What's the topic at hand? I have no idea. I wonder if we can ramble our way into it. I have started today with some preliminary work on like the before stuff. I don't know, like the gods and the goddesses and the wars and all the stuff that the planet was formed and all that story that I've been trying to make a better sense of what the hell's going on. Because it's like, this is one thing maybe I should talk about that I don't think, once the books are finished, of course, anyone will fucking understand. Because you'll see the book, you'll see, oh, it's a fantasy book, there's stuff going on, there's lore, there's this and that. And you'll think, cool, cool. I don't think you realize how difficult it was to make the lore happen. Why is that? When I was younger, over the years, I've talked about it, I showed it, I got my journeys. I wrote in my journals things all the time. Like I said, sometimes it was just personal journals and like notes about my life, song lyrics, or this and that. But a lot of the times it was just like lore and things like that. Like the Anakim do not know why Cephas had claimed to help them to retake Trinity. They do not trust him at first. And then I go into that a little bit, or I talk about, well, what's Eval like? What's the War of the Monarch? The great civil war known as the War of the Monarchs was fought for each hole. There was no clear winner, blah, blah, blah. Just lore things, right? Keepers of faiths, scholars, monks, peoples willing to learn what would come of the Keeper Sanctuary. They were not warriors or soldiers, but peacekeepers. You understand? How about two more examples, just to show you what the fuck's going on here. Oh my god, this is the one. Like right here. The cave is an entrance into creation, or the mind of God. Long ago, when the diggers found this, it had not occurred to them. For how would any know of this place? It is unknown as to how it was found. There is no evidence of where it exists now, but there are stories, some say, false stories, but stories nonetheless. There was once a time when the void was a beauteous place, a place blessed by the divine being so long ago. It isn't known if this place was, or where they first settled, or if some importance had been here, but nevertheless this place must have been sacred. And I go into the origin myth of the world, right? That's what all this is. Then I became a writer, and I sat down, and I've been slowly having to compile this shit. And what I learned was a lot of things. One, I had to be my own historian, because I'm at a part now where it's like, who are these ancient beings that vanished from the world? And I'm scanning through all this and all my other documents, and I found like, oh, I found all the tribes that were ever mentioned, like a little article this big. Like the Innu tribes that inhabited the desert lands were once a peaceful people. That's it. And then over here I found the Rus that lived up in this area, that blah, blah, blah. The Valio were once known as the ones from the mountains. And I had to gather all that shit, set it down and say, who the fuck are these people? Then I found a document over here that Jacob wrote talking about the Dizorni, the people that are the cursed ones, the forsaken ones. Why are they forsaken? Then I found this document talking about people that fled into the forest after the Great War. I'm like, oh, are these the same? I had made all these fucking connections to finally say the Dizorni, the forsaken ones, the people that are kind of like my Scythians. They had this great empire and it vanished. What happened to them? Where they live? So I went back through the notes again and I drew a map, which I'll put on here, fuck it. And I had to find out where each person might have lived. And from that point, I said, what's the purpose of all that? Who are these people? And then again, I did more research, and that's when I realized what the Forgotten Realms were. And that's when I realized that, wait a minute, these people were said to have gone to the other realm. Why did they go in the other realm? What is the other realm? Writing this book, I literally have to be like my own historian, where I have to unravel history and the events merely through fragmented, interconnected, and sometimes disconnected, random ass things. Like, to go and try to find information and I find, ooh, I mentioned right here something about the forgotten people. That conflicts with what I said in this one. What the hell? And so I have to kind of discern through another one which one may be the correct one. And it's like tracing your thoughts and making sure you're always at the source of what the fuck is happening. To you, you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about right now. But when you read it, you read the books, you're gonna read, oh cool, fantasy world, awesome, prehistory, oh that's cool, this is going on. Neato, there's magic in it, you know. No one's gonna understand the years of toiling and trying to just delve into this shit. Meanwhile, delving into that stuff like that, I'm trying to find real life equivalents. And every time I fucking do, it's not like, oh, this happened, I'm gonna put it in the book. It's always, I have it in the book. Oh shit, this happened in real life. There's a weird connection here. And so I had to kind of figure this shit out. And it was a whole ass thing, you know? I didn't really understand. I'm more than convinced that there is something that happened in this world that is more than we are willing to admit. And this has more to, it's more than like races of people. It's more than fucking about religion or whatever the fucking hot topics are. This is like, let me put it like this. In my world, it was discovered by what I'm only calling right now Titans. That name was given because that was the name that happened during the stream of consciousness, and I just been rolling with it. Titans. I don't know why. That's just primordially what made sense to me. Then I started to have to unravel how they made this world. I had to come up with the creation myth, right? The story that the Anaku, which are the Native Americans, if you want to call them that, of this world, the original inhabitants, what do they believe happened? As I wrote it, I'm seeing what I believe. That there is a realm of life that we inhabit. I've showed you the video, I've talked about it, that lies outside of the known universe. The known universe is a collection of realms that all are interconnected into, like, that all go around the idea of creation. And this place was created, my book basically takes place outside of all that, in the realm of nothingness. I'm calling it the realm of life because that's the only word I can think of. And these Titans made it all. But they didn't realize they were going against the Creator. And so it's like this place was birthed to give power and prestige to the Titans when it shouldn't be in the first place. And so like from that point, everything has to be unmade. That's the whole point of the stories. The world has to become unmade. The world that was made by the Titans has to go away. And it's taking a massive cast of characters to make that fucking happen. That can't just happen. Because the being that wants to make this so, there's a ward around this realm of life. I wonder if that was on purpose or an accident. He can't access it, but he can access the people that exit and enter. The only things that exit and enter are the dead. Sorry. Or the gods. Because the gods go back and forth from this place, like carrying their groceries and putting them away. You know what I mean? Like, I'm leaving it, I'm coming back, I'm leaving it, I'm coming back. This place I made and I have to walk away from it for a while. Just like when you play your video game, you enter the realm, you play, you dictate, you make, depending on what game you're playing, you do something in it, then you leave it. It is upon your leaving and entering of this game, this realm, that this whisper, which is an agent of the Creator, attaches onto you. It is the idea of the door. Something that in religion I'm kind of discovering, the veil. You remember when I talked about that goddess who was, she was known for the doorway between ideas, like transcendence, the foot of the mountains to going into the mountains. There's like a doorway that you have to kind of access as you pass through it. Or me, before I open the book, there's a moment that has to happen before we engage. Does that make any sense to you? Like, you walk up to your car the moment before you open your door and sit inside of it. There's a transitional period that happens there. In that transitional period is where I believe an entity inhabits. And that entity that inhabits that realm has its very purposes. But in the purpose of my book, this being that I call the Whisper that inhabits that is a, how would I word that? An agent of the Creator. This Whisper is the manifestation of an emotion. That emotion is fear. The manifestation of the fear is what transitions you from certain points of your life. And not only that, but it transitions you from life to death. So it is a manifestation of an emotion that is we could say it is like, imagine the Grim Reaper takes you from one realm to the next, right? The ferryman in Greek mythology, which I don't remember his name. That's what the Whisper is. But it has to do what it's supposed to do in the realm of life. Now, the problem with all of that, okay, is how you look at this being. Some could say the Grim Reaper, the ferryman, the Whisper, the manifestation of fear is bad, and you would not be wrong. Some could say it is good, and you also would not be wrong. That's the whole concept of everything. So the idea that I try to always play with in the books are these philosophic thoughts and shit, like how to make sense and unravel our world. Outside of that, what is the realm of life? What is this material world that we live in? Well, as I worked on it with Jacob and we kept trying to figure this out, it's almost like we determined that it is a harvesting place. That we are here to be harvested for some reason. Something needs our energy. The one thing that Jacob said, and I've been really raveling my thoughts around this, and it's becoming clear to me as well, is the ancient gods that need our power get that power through our worship because we give them power. Do you remember in the last video how I said that you give something power because you let it happen in here? The argument is, the fucking thing that I said was, someone says, don't give him any power or else he'll win. If you're arguing with someone else, don't dwell on it when you leave because that means they won. That kind of shit. That is how gods work as well. They need you to think about them and worship them so that they may manifest more in the material world. The whole center point of the story that I'm writing revolves around the idea of the world is in need of destruction based for the Whisper. But then there are the gods, the Titans and the Aeon, who think it should not be destroyed but reshaped in their image. Though they are all trapped outside of the realm because of things that happened. Well, how do they gain back into the realm again? Worship and praise. They need to be manifested back into this world some way, shape, or form, but they can't do it physically. What does that mean? That means they have to do it with what we would consider prophets. I want to come back to this realm. I want things to happen this way, and that way because it's going to help me somehow, whatever. Big God plans that humans can't understand. I can't go in there and talk to them. But if I can talk to the right one that is searching intently for me, in some way, shape, or form, Through him or her, I can do whatever. They are my animus. Now, that is the main point of the philosophy of the books, is like the idea of animus, the idea of something using another thing to communicate for them. This husk, here's me, I'm in it, now I can fucking navigate on this realm. That's what our bodies are, right? So there's all this moving shit. Those are just examples of how the book works. All that shit. But to make it all work, to make all that, like, for all that to have come together, it took hours upon hours, hundreds of hours of scanning through old notes and old documents here and trying to see if I could unravel this. Because there's points in the story where you need answers. Like, there was an ancient race of mages that play an important role in all of this. And they're called Keepers of Faith. And you're sitting there going like, well, who the fuck are they? What does that mean? Well, you better fucking go through all the documents and see what you have. Then you have 55 sources talking about the Keepers. Most of them kind of agree on stuff, but half the time they're all divergent. So you have to find out why they're divergent. And if you do find a divergence in them, you could say, oh, that's because this is the rhetoric of their enemies. This one is a regional thing. This will happen to the Keepers in that region. That's why they think this. So you have to come up with all these little theories until you come up to the source and you say, the Keepers are the ancient people that were part of the, my version of the Scythians, my Vizorin, the Forsaken Ones. They were all wiped out long ago by the Titans for some reason, shape, or form, and these were their ancient protectors. These were their Aryan, or the Arya, as the Scythians would call them, the royal Arya, the ones that are ruled, that rule over the land, but their god is their king, in a sense. And it made so much sense, and then I connected that to like, well, that's how Adrana still functions. So you could see that maybe Adrana still has some connections to this royal Arya kind of thing. It's like when you look at the Scythians and you see certain things happening in India or China, you're like, oh wow, they were connected once to the Scythians. The Scythians owned all that shit. Now the modern Chinese are almost descendant from Scythians as well. When they talked about like the guy that created Taoism, the Buddha, and Zoroaster, and another one, the Greek one, I forgot his name. All of them were Scythian, like sages in a sense. So the religion of China, India, the Persians, and the Greeks were all because of these Scythians. What does that mean? Where did they come from? Like, so you take that connection, you put it in your book, and you say like, well, what is that in the book? If this is the case here, how there? For the reason is, so that's interconnected book stuff. But then you have to go there, get a bunch of books on the real history of the world, and do some real studying, and try to find what happened in real life. Do you remember I gave the example of Thorin the bull in my book, and I found the story of Torn? Cooley, something or other? The Irish myth. The story of the Mabe or something, the queen who was comparing with her husband, like who has the better of everything, and all she's missing is this cow. She wanted to get it from this guy. He said no. Well, then she wanted to invade Ulster, and this whole ass thing. That was, I found that, I'm like, that's got to be connected to my book. So you can take it from the outside and place it in. You know, the realm of the creation of your book can transcend both you and what it's about. My goal was always to unravel my own philosophy, mythology, and religion within the book, but at the same time take real life elements and kind of sacrifice them in a sense. You take the element of what Christianity is, or what the element of Zoroastrianism is, and you sacrifice it, and let's just say it like this, and then you bastardize it and place it into a fantasy book where it becomes a concept. From that concept, through that bastardization, can someone read it and pull from it back out their own interpretation, and now we just recreate it. That right there is how mythology keeps history alive. Because like I said in the last video, history is so biased. If you're not, I mean, if you're not a Roman, a Persian, a Greek, an Egyptian, or an American, a little bit more, that's very modern, or Russian or whatever, you don't even know what really happened, because that's their fucking biases. These are the people that took over the world in their time. So because they have all these biases, the history is like, is it true? Is it not? Like, technically this is all true, but this is just one focus. Mythology, the people that were taken over, like the Celts, the Irish, the Native Americans, African tribes, God knows the countless other people that are lost to history. What about them? They themselves had a piece of God as well. They had their own gods and they had their own story. How do you unravel them? The history just says, oh, they're just barbarians. Who cares? The blacks are barbarians. Get them out of here. Fuck the Celts. Those are just barbaric people. What about their philosophers? A noble barbarian at that. Like, you know, that dumbass shit. What about their stories? You unravel it through their mythology, because in their mythology is how you get a sense of them. Because you extract from it and you remake it. That is the whole point of my books. So like my journals are the guiding force of my books. So this shit is guiding the story. From that point, it creates its own universe, its own plane of existence, through which you can tread into and pull from, and you can place it back into the world again. It's a time capsule. It's a concept capsule. That's personally what I've noticed stories are. There's nothing more to it than that, but there's a fuck a lot more to it. I don't know how to put, like, this might be rambling to somebody. Someone might hear all this and think like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You sound insane. I guarantee a lot of people tuned out by this point. Which means the smart ones are still here right now. Which is what I'm trying to tell you. Everything you ever fucking read has a purpose. Everything that you see, everything that's ever happened, it's all happening for a reason. I'm not going out there and saying like, yeah, you know, like, I don't know, the Illuminati and whatever the fuck else people think. I'm not going out there and giving any credit to anyone. I'm just noticing things about life and I'm placing it down on a piece of paper and saying like, this is what I think might be happening. I don't know though. If I'm wrong, thank God, because it's scary. The shit that I've kind of been uncovering. Half the time I wonder why this world was made and what the purpose is of it. Because all I've ever known is humanity. And in humanity, there's always an agenda, there's always a game, it's always somehow selfishly involved. Altruism, and I'm not a Nietzscheism, I'm not like a person that's like Nietzsche, where I, even though some things he says I believe, I don't think that's all we're capable of, is the bad shit we're not like meant to do. Like, there's no such thing as altruism. I think that's a Nietzsche thing. I believe that. I believe that true altruism is only a motivation of self. I don't think it's possible. You know what I mean? Now, that's just my human bias. That's just because the world I experienced. That's the power that I gave the whisper, fear, and it attached onto me. I could purge it or I could keep it. Depends on how much it serves me. The point I want to make to someone watching this is to say, you have to notice and you have to look out at the world around you. Not everything is what you're told. Like, if someone's telling you something, as in someone's saying like, this is what this is, here, you need to get this, you need to look at this, you need to understand it. It's the modern rhetoric. This is what social justice is. This is what true religion is, or whatever the fuck. Like, something someone's forcing on you, it's a human being forcing on you. So what does that mean? There's a purpose to it. They think they have solved something, and they think that in that solving of something, it's for you. This is the best thing for mankind. we need to do this with race, we need to do this with religion, or whatever other fucking hot topics are going on right now. Sexuality and gender stuff. I already know. I wrote this up. We agree. Just accept it and apologize. That to me, like it reeks of some darker agenda, you know? The darkness always wants to spread. It's the one that needs to be spread. I don't know about the light, man. It already is. That's why God said, I am what I am. It is. It doesn't need you to go around and spreading it. I know that that's a human concept. I disagree. That's the whole journey that I've been having working on this book and being guided by all this stuff. Finding my own mind through my journals and my own ideas and the fun things that I like to do and what I think the world might be written in here. Transporting into here with the use of human experience, human emotion, and the history of our people that happened behind us. You connect everything. If you're gonna write your own book, you gotta connect fucking everything. Every fucking thing. From the good all the way to the bad. You have to justify why a god would do what they would do, all the way down to why someone would want to do what they do to slaves. You have to. That's the job of a writer. You're transcending human experience from your own mind. It's not an easy journey. It really isn't. Half the time I feel like this, and then the other half the time I feel like a fucking idiot sitting blank going like, I don't even know what life is. Because it can do that to you, you know? I want to say that there was a theme to this all, but in my mind, this is what the writing is, which is probably what I'll call this video. I wanted to really lay out what the journey has been for me, which is the second part of it. I wanted to lay out how difficult it's been through just the material that I have to go through, all the way to retraining my mind in a sense. I saw the world a certain way. I was some poor kid that grew up in a fucking trailer park in the middle of the forest. In a township. Do you know what I mean? Not even big enough to be called a village, just a township. And all I knew was this much. And I felt like a fucking retard going to school every day. And I felt abandoned. I felt forgotten. I felt horrible and stupid. And this whole journey has been me expanding my mind and becoming myself again. In that's how God was reaching me. And through that's the God of my book. The forgotten king trying to unravel himself to become whole once again is the very same God that is trying to pass into me to use me as for whatever he needs. Disclaimer, I'm not saying like prophet shit. God uses everybody. It's not just, only certain people. Like it's Abraham and now you. Like, no. God uses us all in different ways. You know, shapes and forms. Sometimes he wants you to just turn your phone on real quick, notice something, then you tell someone else something, bada boom, bada bing, something happens. This is my part to play. I know this. It's more than, I don't know how to word it. It's become too obvious. Like, I'm not anymore like, well, you never know. Like, it might just be in your head. Like, at this point, here's the one small example that just happened yesterday. Everything happens as it should, right? When I did my DNA test, there was a portion that said, hey, we were able to trace kind of an area that your DNA came from. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was the Beara Peninsula in Munster, right? One of the peninsulas. And I was like, interesting, very cool. Now, I like that because I was like, oh, I do love Celtic stuff. I love Irish stuff. And I've been like really interested in Irish things, which was inspired long ago by hearing the word the other world, because I found the connection between my other world, and I was like, holy fuck, maybe there's a source and we can all tap into it, and they tapped into it, and now I am too. So I was like, oh cool, I have Irish in me and I come from this area. What is it? I finally looked into it. It was given that name by O'Sullivan Barra. I forgot his first name. One of the last, I think it said King of the Name or something, but one of the last kind of Gaelic clan leaders in Ireland that fought against the English. And they had the last siege with the Spaniards in a castle. I don't remember, it was Barra Castle. It's B-E-A-R-A, I think Barra, or there's an E at the end, I don't remember. And they lost, and he had to flee. And they built that. That happened in June of 1602 or 1600, one of those. And I was like, holy fuck, this is where I come from. And that happened. And not only that ignite my anger in English and all that, but whatever. I was like, oh my God, that feels right. And then I was looking at pictures of the castle. It's ruined. And it said it happened in 1602 in June. And they erected a fucking monument underneath it in memory of all the men who lost their lives here on June 22nd, 1954, I think. Which June 22nd is my birthday. And it might seem insignificant, but when I heard that, I was like, there's something here. I don't know how to explain that feeling, but something was just perfect. It's like you look into something and all of a sudden someone hands you a thing, which has happened so much to me in this book. I don't keep score of this. I really should have, so I can use it as examples to prove people, but I don't pay attention that much. But you know how I proved that happened? I could have used the internet, I guess, but I didn't. I went a year before this. I went to an antique store, and I was like looking at the old books, and there was this ruined old one. I think I showed a video of it. The front cover was ripped off. It was in a state. I was looking at it, and it was called The History of Ireland. And I would thumb through it, and every time I'd read words, I'm like, damn. I don't know. Wow, okay. Meanwhile, this is before I took that DNA test. Like, I knew I was probably Irish. Look at me. But I didn't know. And I was thumbing through it, and I'm like, I'm going to get this book. And it cost me a stupid amount for a ruined book, but I took it anyway. I took it to a bookbinder, and they fixed it. And this is it now. I heard that thing about Beara Peninsula. I just went in here, and all of a sudden I started reading, and I found the names that I was hearing. Cut this part. I opened up a page, 241. O'Sullivan Barra, the first Toparch who offered him assistance and thus at once distinguished the southern septs. And I kept reading on. Don Julian, the castle, the thing that happened on the 3rd of December, blah blah blah. The fall of Dunboy, which is the name of that castle, is Dunboy. And then I cross-referenced it, and I said, it was in the book that I just happened to say, I gotta get this book. I come from the region, like my ancestry does, and it all clicked. That's how I know, and that's one instance. Again, I'm sorry I can't give you like, well, and then this thing happened then, and all that. I can't give you anything, because I don't keep track of it. So my whole life is like this. But it's one of those things that tells me every time I'm working on something, I want to take this and put it in the book so it's never forgotten. It's just, I'm reminded by God, like every time, like this is what you're doing. This is what you have to do. The whole experience of writing this damn book has been mind-altering. It's been enlightening, it's been humbling, it's been the most difficult fucking thing I've ever done in my entire life. But you notice when you sit down with a piece of paper and you just write and block the world away and you just write. That's an invitation. That's the enchantment. Remember how I told you words are like a casting of a spell. It's magic. You put words on a piece of paper, it invites. And what I just invited, what I've been inviting, is the heritage that I want to feel relevant again. Through that, I was able to learn about the subversive side of our human history. Through that, I was realizing there are gods at work, multitudes of them, that have their own agenda, and this place is something to them. It's very strange. I mean, think of being a god for a minute. I know it's difficult, but why the fuck would that realm down there, Earth, why the fuck would that matter? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's something more to it, and it all started clicking in my head. And I finally realized that I have to do all this. I need the headache, apparently. I have to, like, sleepless nights, and nights where I'm sitting down in front of this fucking typewriter and I just can't do it. I have to. There's something that I'm unraveling. Every time I open up an old journal, I wrote something so profound in it that I thought, that sucks, I'm a fucking failure. And I read it again, I'm like, holy fuck. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like, just stuff like that, it all makes too much sense. But that's that. I will continue. I'm working on the Story of the Titans. Maybe I'll read that on here. I know I have a series of short stories I'm reading. I haven't gotten to that yet. I gotta find them and then read them. I read Jacardia, the first one, but I'll read others. But maybe I'll read the Titans. The story of the subjective story of what they said happened. And then maybe I'll read the other gods, what they said actually happened. Imagine having two perspectives. Like, you found a story of what the Titans said happened, but then the Greek pantheon, like, no, this is what happened. Like, I try to give everyone their own, whatever, perspective. Anyway, that's that. Managed to pull that one out of our ass. Holy shit. Didn't even think I was going to be able to, like, talk about anything. I was like, what do I talk about today? I don't even know. Yeah. But anyways, I will see you in the next one.